collections. The Parthenon Gallery. The Frieze style. The Parthenon frieze is the defining monument of the high classical style of Attic sculpture. It stands between the gradual eclipse of the severe style as witnessed on the Parthenon metops and the evolution of the late classical rich style exemplified by the Nike balustrade. What sources the designer of the frieze drew upon is hard to gauge. Certainly large-scale narrative art was familiar to 5th century Athenians, as in the stoipoical painting by Polygnotos of Thassos. While there is an overall coherence to the work, there are design differences on opposing sides of the frieze, which has suggested to some scholars the possibility of more than one designer and a pattern of influence amongst them. There is greater nudity and frontally on the north than the south. The massing and distribution of figures is greatly different on the east than the more widely spaced west, and the east and north generally exhibit greater innovation. This evidence, along with the frequency with Greek artists were seen to collaborate, has led Jennifer Niels to hypothesize the existence of two designers working on the sculpture. This would admit the possibility of a later designer comparing and competing with the earlier, and so explain the observable changes in composition. This period is one of discovery of the expressive possibilities of the human body. There is a greater freedom in the poses and gestures, and an increased attention to anatomical verisimilitude, as may be observed in the ponderated stances of the figures W9 and W4, who partially anticipate the Dori furrows of Polykleitos. There is a noticeable ease to the physiques of the frieze compared with the stiffness of the metops, along with an eye for such subtleties as knuckle joints, veins, and the careful articulation of musculature. One important innovation of the style is the use of drapery as an expression of motion or to suggest the body beneath. In archaic and early classical sculpture, clothing fell over the body as if it were a curtain obscuring the form below. Now there is the billowing chlamydes of the horsemen or the multi-pleated peplou of the women, which lends a surface movement and tension to their otherwise static poses. The variation in the manes of the horses has been of particular interest to scholars attempting to discern the artistic personalities of the sculptors who labored on the frieze. So far this Morellian analysis has been without conclusion.